Hey everyone, it's the Innovators Mindset with Anthony Padrnos. Anthony just throwing me all these different pronunciations of things today. All right, listen, I am with Anthony Padrnos. I am going to be speaking with your group in CoSN, Minnesota, like CoSN MN. That's the new trick you taught me, right?
Yep,
Just say
yep,
it. Don't even try to say it because it's
that's right.
with MASA. This is Minnesota Association of Superintendents. And what's the A? What's the last A?
It's school administrators. So the
Yeah, there you go.
Association of School Administrators.
I should know that since I'm coming to speak there. It's probably a good idea. And he is the executive director of technology for Osseo School District. And just talking to Anthony a little bit, one of the things I really appreciate about you, and I think it's really powerful, is that you are leading your district with technology, but you have a teaching and learning background, you have a leadership background,
Yep.
and that's something that really is meaningful because I think a lot of times it's almost a separation of the two, right? Like you have
Yeah, yeah,
it's almost this curriculum tech fight, and we really focus on going to innovative teaching and learning leads to say like, hey, we need our curriculum people to understand some of the opportunities with technology, and we really need our technology people to understand curriculum. They can't work separately, but they have to go together. So your leadership in this has been, I like just talking to you, I know you do some really great stuff, and whether you go into a different role, I know you're basing it on teaching and learning. So I really appreciate that. So Anthony, if you can just tell a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do today, how you got there, I think that is a great place to start.
yeah. So I've been in public education in Minnesota for over 20 years. Grew up in a central small town part of Minnesota, and then after getting my teaching degree, moved down to the metro area with my wife and kind of started my teaching career. I started in the classroom as a high school math teacher and always had this passion for looking for new and innovative ways to meet the needs of my students. And technology was an amazing avenue to help think differently and create different pathways and differentiation in my classroom, which led me into kind of teacher leadership roles where I became an instruction and innovation coach before moving into more senior leadership. From my kind of teaching path and first school district, I moved into a director of technology role with a small school district just south of the Minneapolis area, 4,500 students, and wore the hat of director of technology, but served as an integrated part of the teaching and learning team. So I
Awesome.
had the great opportunity to help facilitate curriculum and instruction alignment, data and assessment coordination. Actually, had a role as supporting communications and was the principal of the ALC for a time period, all under that same hat. So, when you think about breaking down silos and looking at how technology can be ubiquitous throughout a system, that was a great opportunity and experience for me to kind of help lead and shepherd that tight integration. From there, I've been serving the last 10 years with Osseo Area Schools, as you mentioned. We are the fifth largest district in the state of Minnesota. So for context, we're probably a mid-sized district across the country with 21,000 students and 31 school sites, serving seven different communities in the northwest kind of suburban area of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area of Minnesota. My role has really been about bringing leadership at the senior level leader space,
Mm.
partnering closely with superintendents, assistant superintendents, curriculum directors around bringing that vision of how do we break down silos and barriers in our organization, and just like I did in Richfield, make technology ubiquitous with really teaching and learning driving what it is we want to accomplish and achieve, and technology really serving as a resource to amplify what's possible in our classroom spaces.
And that's one of the things I really, when we were talking, and you and I have listen, I've not done as many roles as you have. Your one role is like all my roles combined ever. But we have maybe some of the same kind of, I don't want to say background, but kind of build up, if any, if
Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense, right? Like you kind of learn technology and integrate it into teaching and learning, because I think sometimes the issue is when you have people that are very tech focused, they're basically, it's like they're like a hammer in search of a nail, right? Like they're
yeah,
trying to use tech for everything, as opposed to like, hey, what type of learning do we really want to achieve in our schools? And then, hey, does technology actually fix this, or could it sometimes? And
yep,
this is my belief: technology makes everything faster, whether it's good or bad, right? It can make the
yeah,
bad stuff
exactly.
happen really quick too. And so I really appreciate that. But I think the connection between how you bring people together through a leadership perspective, it really, really matters. And I just kind of want your thoughts of this. We talked about it a little bit before we prepped. Your comfort level with learning technology, how does that really land into some of the things that you do in leadership, right? That have nothing to do with technology, like that the ability to learn that stuff. Like, how does that connect to leadership, bringing people together? How do you connect those things?
Yeah, I think one of the key pieces that, technology builds a capacity in leadership and transcends is um, technology is constantly evolving and constantly changing.
Mm.
Um, and the same is true when you think about leadership within schools. I think we all got a real crash course if we weren't thinking about how agile our school systems need to be when the COVID pandemic happened. But the
What was that?
reality,
Because I didn't know if that happened. Was
yeah, I think we all kind of want to block that out.
we do?
Which there were some good things out of that, and there was a lot of hard stuff out
Mhm.
of that. But when we think about leading in education in today's space, there is a need for agility and innovative thinking and change management. I think, you pull technology out and systems need to evolve and change management is a huge component of what we do from a leadership lens.
Mm.
And an ability to kind of create a vision around something and rally your stakeholders and build understanding with your stakeholders in order to make a successful change happen, whether that's implementing a new curriculum, trying to put in place a new instructional strategy, or navigating financial hardships and cuts within an organization. It all requires kind of the basic principles around change management and agility, and being able to bring stakeholders around a common vision, and like I said, being able to translate that to the different individuals in your organization to get buy-in.
As when we were talking, if you didn't, and this is something I really appreciate about your work, is that if you did not tell me your title, I wouldn't know if you were the superintendent or a principal. And I think that's what matters. That's what really brings people together. Do you know what I mean? Is
Yep. Oh yeah.
it's like, hey, technology is part of your portfolio, but there's all these really crucial leadership aspects of like bringing people together. How do we actually navigate some of the changes that we're seeing? So that's something I really, really love. Here's like a very personal question that I have for you. Just something I'm like, and I'm curious about you from your math background. So you see all
Yeah.
this stuff with AI, and you see all, there's almost a you're seeing it too. There's no way you're not seeing it. There's like this. I hate everyone's like hates tech. Jonathan
Yeah.
Haidt just called
Oh yeah.
for it. It's like
Yep.
amazing. Jonathan Haidt never taught a day in school, but is like directing a lot of what schools are doing right now. It's like, hey, we don't listen to people who haven't taught unless we agree with them. So and
Yep.
then we listen to exactly what they say. But I don't think it's like AI or teaching math skills. Do you know what I mean? It is. I
Yep.
think there's components that of whether you become a mathematician, whether you go into the field of math, that there's really important components of teaching math that will actually lend to how we leverage AI. So, like, how do you see the
Yep.
connection between that specifically as someone with a math background?
Yeah. You know, I start with first kind of understanding the context around AI, and I've done a lot of reflection, back to Gartner's hype cycle. And I think, we're in a moment right now with AI where there's a lot of hype around it that will even out and plateau, and we will see the reasonable role of what AI can do within the field of education. In math specifically, I'll start with instruction first, kind of broader. AI is a disruptor, and it's not the first technology disruptor that we've seen. I mean, you can come back, all the way back to the Gutenberg printing press,
Right.
and there was a lot of concern about, mass print and access to, books as the printing press came out. In my, recent time, we've had YouTube, we've had internet connected technologies, one-to-one technologies, lots of things that have come in that have created a lot of hype as they came in. And then we, built out capacity about how to effectively use these and really transform opportunities for students to learn and excel in their learning process. Specifically when I think of math, to me, I use this example all the time, as I've talked about AI, is, the advent of the calculator. Back when the calculator came out and there was talk about bringing the calculator into schools, there were actually mass protests at universities about how this would
Seriously?
destroy, math education and math learning. And the reality is the calculator provided more access and a greater ability for students to learn higher mathematical concepts sooner than they could previously. And I truly believe that when used appropriately and effectively, AI in the math classroom and in many classroom fields has the potential and opportunity to kind of amplify and give greater access to learning and more advanced learning at a sooner time period. With that technology in place.
Like when you're bringing up the calculator, I'm sure you heard the same thing. Like, it's not like you're going to be walking around with a calculator in your pocket one day. Whoops.
Yes.
Missed that point.
Exactly.
I'm trying to find it. There's this, I think here it is. I think it's QAMA. And, I'll see if I can put it in the notes here. But I actually was doing some work on this, and it's the tagline is the calculator thinks only if you think too. So basically, this calculator, it will not give you the answer unless you give it a reasonable estimate. So you have to be in the vicinity. So like actually makes you kind of go through the process, which I think is like a really interesting thing. But yeah, like I was talking about some of the things that, like this article I shared is like talk about building numerical intuition, problem solving framework, right? These are all things that are going to be needed with AI too, right?
Exactly.
And when you're talking about this stuff, and you and I, like, there's so many comparisons or similarities to kind of our belief system. It's like if you pretend this doesn't exist, you actually probably make things worse, and kids will get dumber because they're just going to use it, right? And anytime somebody says like, oh, kids are cheating, I'm like, did you ever look at the back of the math book? Like, did you ever do that? Because I did it all the time, right?
Oh yeah, get the odd number questions.
Right. And when you do that, it's because you don't see the relevance of it to your own learning. You don't see it's important to figure out. So it is actually, kids will cheat if they don't see the relevance of what they're doing. I think, and that's whether it's AI, the questions at the back of the book. I think that really matters. So I really appreciate kind of your viewpoint on that. Now, I am going to be joining you with the CoSN Minnesota group. And when we were talking about this and started doing some of the planning, you shared that many of the people that are leading technology in their schools have similar backgrounds to you. They're not necessarily, not necessarily went to like IT department school and did that, but they have this. Tell me kind of like, I know it kind of put me on the spot. What's your hopes for when I work with your group? Like, what are you hoping that day looks like?
Yeah, I think that we've got a lot of hopes as we get the opportunity to partner with you on that day. Like I said, the CoSN Minnesota group is a professional organization geared towards the education technology leaders in K-12. And we're a state chapter of the national organization. So it's an amazing network for technology leaders in K-12 to be able to connect, learn, and grow. In particular, which is very relevant on the topic we've been talking about today, is we've all been working to navigate through how to break down the silos and bridge the partnerships between teaching and learning, the superintendency, operations, and technology. As technology continues to evolve and grow, as I mentioned, it's ubiquitous across our organization. There isn't a single piece of operations or teaching and learning that isn't touching some form of technology as a resource to help them achieve what they're working on within the organization. And we've had to go through a lot of evolution where tech departments, at the beginning were very much kind of the break fix.
Right.
Something didn't work, you come and fix it, versus kind of seeing where that strategic vision is and how do we co-author strategy moving forward, to ensure that all of us are meeting goals and technology is serving as that amplifier to really advance a system forward innovatively.
I think one of the biggest things that can be done in that space is honestly have people like you that are I don't want to disparage you. I don't want this to sound disparaging. I don't find you to be a tech expert. I find you to be a person who's comfortable with technology, who's focused on leadership, teaching and learning. That's what we want, right?
Very much.
And I think that's like I'm going to tell you like an old man George story, and I'll never forget this. This guy like messed me up. So I was dating this girl. Geez, I was in college. Her brother was the smartest guy I've ever met with technology in my life, and he's just like a brilliant mind. And he actually graduated university, and huge deal. He had offers from Microsoft and Google at the exact same time. He could have picked wherever he wanted to go. And just the stuff he would do is mind blowing. So I'm sitting, because I'm like teaching high school technology at the time, and this guy's way smarter than me in any of this stuff. So I said, "Hey, how good are you with technology out of 10?" He's like, "Nah, 6." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? You're a 6?" He's like, "Yeah." And I said, "How are you a 6? That if you're a 6, like I'm like -8. There's no way you're a 6." He goes, "Well, listen, there's so many things. There's so many things that there's no way I could possibly know it all. So yeah, I know the things that I use, but there's so many different ways. And I think that we have to understand there's so many different people we can learn from and different people to connect with, but I'm not going to, it's impossible for me to know all of it." And I'm thinking like, that's such a 10 out of 10 answer, because it just totally made sense what he said. And that is the reality, is that it's not about like, do you know all the things? It's that, can you adapt? Can you learn? Can you figure it out?
Yeah.
And even like his answer, I'm like, that was like a 10 answer. Like, yeah, but it was so good. And so that's like, I've really appreciated getting to know you. And it makes me feel really hopeful for the direction, because there is this anti-technology stuff. And I think if you frame it on like tech is the answer to everything, then we're going to be in trouble. And we should be. But it's like, hey, it's just about dealing with change, because it's always going to happen, right? Like I was thinking when you were talking about people, you shared some stuff. I was like, I didn't know that. But I wonder what people thought when the photocopier came. It's like, oh, this is wrecking everything.
Yeah.
Right? I probably freaked some people out too. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Even though right now, like, I don't know if schools want to get rid of their photocopier, but I'm sure at some point maybe they had protests with that too.
Well, yeah.
With photocopiers. Right? So listen, I am so excited to join you. I just love this stuff. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm turning half the day over to you. I'm just like, listen to Anthony, just do what he's doing. So you're on your own, man. So, but anyways, thanks for taking the time out of your busy day. It's been awesome to get to know you. I can't wait to work with you. Very closely
likewise,
soon.
George.
And hey, everyone, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.